We've had record gun sales in the country, breaking all of the instant background check records. The FBI says gun shops everywhere are almost sold out or sold out. Most types of semi-autos that Obama wants to go after are there. But I thought we'd get Larry Pratt on just briefly to talk about what the real threat is and how they're going to do this by stealth. And then where Barack Obama and his chief of staff really do stand on the Second Amendment. He wants a 500% tax on firearms. So if a gun costs $100, they would add, $500 on it. They want to ban 50 cals. They want to restrict 308, 223. So they've said that they want to shut down gun shows. They are coming for your guns, but they've got to stage a mass shooting first or hype one up. But Larry Pratt, head of Gun Owners of America, thanks for coming on with us.
Alex, thank you for having me. I think you're absolutely correct. And in many ways, I would imagine Obama being a Marxist thug right out of Chicago politics, not to mention his Kenya connections, is going to go for it. He's going to go for a lot of different things, not speaking of guns at the moment. And especially I would imagine he's going to go after changing further the voting rules to further keep his group of Marxists in power.
Now, again, the bankers put him in because the bankers, as Carol Quigley and others said, they like Marxists because they'll destroy the middle class, the competition of the elite, and hand all that money and power and real estate over to them. And so if you really look at what he's doing, he's coming after the middle class. His carbon tax will destroy the middle class.
That'll produce poverty and unhappiness, and by changing the voting rules, they will be able to contain any voting uprising that might occur. People standing in line all day for a loaf of bread, all we have to do is look at the Soviet Union, Cuba, other places. They don't have time to plan an election campaign or anything else.
Yeah, I know you're a student you're a best-selling author and a student of history. Explain to people that communists aren't stupid. They always want to steal the wealth. They know that making you poor is a way to control you. Tell them about it.
This has been a pattern that we have seen, and I've had to conclude they really do know what they're doing. It is a control technique. Communism, socialism is not an economic theory. It's a political theory on how to rule, on how to maintain a monopoly of power. Now, obviously, guns being controlled by the government is part of it, but frankly, I think they're going to have us on our knees before they do something bold, like even renewing the Clinton gun ban.
Exactly. They're not going to try to bring in troops to the streets. They're all set up and locked and loaded until the economic system causes riots and degradation, and then the public will beg for it.
Will applaud. Exactly correct. I think that's exactly the scenario that they would seek. And all we have to do is look either in Rules for Radicals to see what his communist mentor, not a live mentor, but he read him, Saul Alinsky and Rules for Radicals, or look at the way he collaborated with the takeover in Kenya, a power-sharing arrangement that had no constitutional basis, but the victor in the election felt it was the only thing he could do to stop the mayhem, the killing of Christians in Kenya.
And it turns out that Obama advised Odinga, and that's been documented in the emails, even mainstream news, on how to stage riots and kill people. So I mean, this guy isn't playing games, and he's going to have he's going to have the youth corps, the million-man spy army, which is now admitted back in the. I mean, we're talking about hellish.
So look for something to go through before his first 2 years that says that for a federal election you have to allow for Election Day registration. Of course, amnesty will produce a lot of new Democrat voters, and they might even go so far as to bring statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C., which means 4 new socialist senators right there. That gives them closer and closer to a defeat-proof majority. It may be that a majority of the country will be opposed to them, but you won't be able to register that effectively in an acorn-driven election with all the new rules. And so then gun owners can, we're going to be faced, very likely, with the prospect of the rules being changed, the BATFE, the Federal Gun Police, marching even worse than they are again, now under Bush against not only individual owners but stores. And as you mentioned, gun shows, I think, will be the first legislative item up because the NRA has supported that. It was John McCain's legislation. It ultimately failed because they got greedy and had too many other things on it. But if they kept it to a pure gun show bill, they could get that through about any time they wanted.
And that's what they want to stop is private sales. And the way they write these is a citizen won't be able to even sell one to his neighbor. That gives the BATF a in to go after their favorite target, the law-abiding citizen who wants it for self-defense. That's who they love to throw the book at, not the real criminals. And so then they can really start going after people, seizing whole gun collections to, quote, track where they were bought. You don't have a receipt for that. Just hellish control.
And we know it's not going to bother criminals. They've got this and more in England, and all they've gotten for their trouble is almost now 3 times the number of illegal guns in the country as were there when they confiscated them at the beginning of 1997. So we are looking at a really bad ride, and I think this guy is dedicated enough to power. He's no Bill Clinton, who at least had the quote-unquote redeeming virtue of having, shall we say, extracurricular interests. This guy's all business. He is a hardcore, hate-filled Marxist who really hates Western civilization and America in particular. And
his wife and he have said that. He is focused. He wants to destroy the middle class. He loves the internationalists. He loves the bankers. He hates this country. There's no doubt about that. These internationalists, they hate the free market, and they can't wait. They can't. They say it on NPR. The spoiled, rotten consumers, the Americans, the carbon tax will teach you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And even though
the misery it's going to cause poor folks to quote bankrupt the coal plants and tax everything that's energy related to carbon. This is hellish. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, to them, it doesn't matter that they will kill the productive engine of the United States and probably the West. They know that they will always be able to live well. Look at what's the guy's name in Korea, Kim Il-sung or something like that.
Oh, funny you mentioned him. Let me play a clip of him first. Come in with Kim Jong-il introducing Hans Blix. Here it is.
Hey, Hans Blix for the soldier car.
Hans Briggs? Oh, no! Oh, hello. Great to see you again, Hans.
Mr. Il, I was supposed to be allowed to inspect your palace today, and your guards won't let me into certain areas.
Hans, we've been through this a dozen times. I don't have any weapons of mass destruction.
All right. Okay, Hans. Hey, how you like that? I'm sorry, just a little bit of joking here. I meant to play that earlier. I'm not sad he's had a second stroke, and that piece of filth who's murdered millions of his own people is probably going to die soon. But sorry, Larry, go ahead.
Well, it hasn't stopped him, even though he's destroyed the middle class. They hardly produce anything in North Korea. He lives perfectly luxuriously, or has, at least in the past, until his present illness. And that's the way socialists think. They look at economics as distribution. To the extent they believe their own propaganda, they kind of like Michelle Obama saying, "Well, we got to take a piece of your pie and give it to somebody else who needs it more." It never occurs to them that the pie is going to be gone and there won't be anything to distribute, but they don't care because they will have attained power, total control for a very long period of time in so doing. And of course they're going to come after the guns, but they're going to come after the guns someday when we're standing in line. I was talking to a guy from Bolivia. They're having terrible times down there. They have to get in line about 1 in the morning if they want a loaf of bread later in the day.
Hans, we've been through this a dozen times.
Well, that's what these control freaks do, Larry Pratt, as you know. over and over again. I mean, that's like Unidir said on July 7, 2000. They said we must disarm the civilians to have the power monopoly of the state. To them, they understand that independent people that are middle class are the enemy, and it's the lower classes dumbed down, working for socialism that give the power structure to the elite to destroy the middle class. Again, this is so central. Please continue.
So, you know, if we're standing in line waiting for a loaf of bread since 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, they can come by our house and collect the guns. We won't even be there. So that's metaphorically or figuratively, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, you
done.
won't even have a house to be able to buy guns or shoot them or have a culture.
I have to accept the point. You're right. There will be, and it may not happen right away. You can look at South Africa. It's been happening little by little, but very steadily for a number of years since the communists took over the African National Congress. That's what's coming.
And by the way, they allow selective gangs in South Africa and other countries to kill and murder other African tribes, groups of whites killing other whites, and it's left alone. I've seen 2 different videos, and I'm not in a bashing fest here, folks, but if a gay guy got punched in the face and had something taken away and stomped,